All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm delighted to be here
Me too.
today. It sort of implies that I'm not always, doesn't it?
Like, you're
reframe
sort of
that.
lucky I turned up. I was feeling quite lazy today. It was a lot of effort to get here.
Listen, that award you got last year's,
That's the thing. I didn't want to risk it this year. That might be all I get again.
My man, you earned that reward.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't just some handout.
No.
You
You
fought for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's showing
I've always had good attendance.
paying dividends today.
It is.
Because you're here.
I am.
And you nearly weren't.
No. It would have been some achievement if I wasn't, though, really.
It would have been a mixture of peak laziness
Who'd be
and peak
sitting here
fuck
with
me.
you instead?
No one, I'd just go solo.
No?
I play both roles.
Really? Do you know what? I believe that you have an ego large enough to think you could do it. Not just sit here and do a solo podcast, but that you would role play.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect to you, my man.
I think you'd pull it off.
I don't think the content quality would drop. I think I could carry it.
I don't know whether that says worse about us together or just me.
Little from column A, little from column B.
That's just me.
I mean, I would give it a go.
Yeah.
And I'd probably, if it was just me, this is the problem. Well, obviously the problem is that I'm trying to do both, and I shouldn't. I should just respect the sanctity of the pod. But I think I'd probably get carried away, and I'd be like, oh, look, it's a guest, and then just do a slew of bad impressions.
Yeah. So you're quite good because you've done like the odd video here and there previously. I think like you sort of flirted with the idea before, and you were far better at just looking at a camera and like saying whatever it was you wanted to say. I find that so awkward, and I feel self-conscious enough as it is doing this with someone else across the table from me. So to do that on my own, it's why I have a lot of respect for. Is it Dan from HL?
No, I thought you were going to say me, but that's fine. We'll go with someone else.
When
Dan.
you start doing a solo podcast,
Dan
do you
from
know what I mean?
HLTCO, yeah.
When you've replaced me with you.
Me.
That's just so insulting. But do you know what? Nothing is more on brand for this podcast than you believe.
My
you
ego.
could replace me with you.
But would you, if there was anyone in the world that was going to replace you, would you not be quite happy that it was me?
Like, I could imagine being in the afterlife and just being like, do you know what? He went, there's a gravy train to ride here. I could bring someone else in or just keep it for myself.
Just go, you crazy son of a bitch.
Yeah, but like, do you know
did
what?
it.
He's just about crazy enough to pull it off.
It's just crazy. It might just work.
Yeah.
I would give it a go. But like I said, I'd get carried away.
How many episodes would it take for you to get into your solo podcast? Would it still be called Crossing Swords, or would it be called like the Jake Diaries, or
It might have to be,
Diary of a
Swords Uncrossed
mid-level, like, I don't know, charity worker?
I mean, I don't think I'd lead with that angle, if I'm honest.
No, but I was trying to riff off of like Diary of a CEO.
Yeah. I get it. I'm not a CEO. You don't have respect
Like
for me like you do for HLTCO. I get it.
I didn't say I didn't respect you. I was just complimenting someone else. That is allowed to happen without it being a slight on you.
There are people like that, though, aren't there? That genuinely, if you say anything nice about someone,
But what about
like,
me?
Yeah.
It definitely feeds into the sort of relationship dynamic going on here of who's the masculine one and who's the feminine one, and you're definitely the one causing drama for no reason. Be like, if you liked another podcast's clip the other day. What the fuck's that about?
It's, to quote Pam, as I've said it many times, from Mick, Gavin and Stacey.
Do you know what?
It's the drama, Mick. I love it.
Do you know what I love about that show is there's not a character that you can point to and not go, oh, they add something.
100%. They're all strong.
It was absolutely nailed.
Even Doris.
Oh, yeah. Well, because you aren't.
There's your fucking salad.
You're not expecting this absolute goer of a granny. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's just slamming dick. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And keen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anywho.
It is what it is. That's none of that was what we're here to talk about.
Is it not?
We're here to talk about drama and like Pam.
It's all the drama, Mick. I
You
love it.
the drama.
I do love the drama.
There's a lot of drama in football at the moment.
There is a lot of drama in football at the moment.
but we're here. I mean, we can get onto some of the wider drama, but we're here specifically to talk about Palace drama.
It's quite depressing to be a Palace fan at the moment, isn't it? I know I said to you the other day, I think it was you, you and Ash, I said it to, where I was like, I do have the perspective to know that we're not Reading or us 14 years ago. And
no one wins the 4 Yorkshireman War. There's always someone.
And I know that we're in the top division. And I do have that perspective. But it's so bleak.
Yeah.
How do you feel currently as a fan?
I mean, I feel more detached from it because I don't have to go week in, week out to games. And that's the sort of context I try and add to my confusion sometimes over how angry the fans get, because I'm not putting my money on the line and time and effort to go up and down the country watching Palace. But I think what it comes down to for me was before the season started, I had reservations about Roy being in charge because he didn't really want to be there.
We all did.
And I don't think it's a matter of like he's not putting the effort in and he's not interested. Something's gone wrong, and it happened the first time he was in charge. We had a good spell, and then the following season it just sort of went to shit.
And what happened was he left on a bit of a sour note the first time.
Yeah.
But time came, we were getting a more progressive we thought we were getting a more progressive manager.
Yeah.
Really, we were getting Conor Gallagher. That sort of proved to be the difference.
Yeah.
But time healed that, and we looked back on it, not fondly, going, oh my God, we played amazing football, being like, no, he did a really good job and we were really grateful, and the anger wasn't there.
No.
Now he's come back to, he's like, oh, I think they should be more mad at the way I played their club.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back and show them. And I think we all agreed, because when he came back at the end of last season, it looked like a weight had been lifted from the players, particularly the likes of Eza and Zaha and Elise. Suddenly they were playing a lot more freely, a lot happier. And we thought, excellent. But even with that change, all that did was make us think, okay, Vieira going was the right decision.
Yeah.
Even with all that change, I think we all agreed, and I get it. I guess what I'm saying is I get it, that I don't get it. I will never fully understand the actual pressures and difficulties of being a chairman.
No.
But I think we were all in agreement that when they said, look, Roy, the job's yours to the end of the season, that's exactly what it'd been to the end of the season. And as soon as they shook hands and went, right, there you go, Roy, there's the keys. They should have been straight away looking for other managers.
Yeah.
Tapping up, making a short list, thinking what kind of club do we want to be, how much youth do we want to promote, what kind of football, all that stuff. And then making a short list and putting out the feelers and saying, would so-and-so be willing, talking to agents, would so-and-so be willing to talk with us, would so-and-so be willing to talk with us? And it should have been done from then, from like March, whenever it was that Vieira went. Then we should have been making a plan.
Absolutely. And I think what worries me about, because it's being I've seen today that allegedly Parish and Hodgson have had talks today where it's basically been said if things don't turn around rather soon, we're going to have no choice but to let you go. Because the problem, you can accept having Roy Hodgson, because I remember, when Pulis came in and, the club was in quite a bad state. And immediately, from literally the first kickoff, the football changed and it was dross. But it was effective. And you can accept that.
Yeah. That's the payoff.
For a while at the very least. And that's what the guarantee of Roy Hodgson is supposed to be, that you're guaranteed safety. And that was the whole point of this season. And I actually went back and listened to our last episode where we were like, that's what this whole season's about, was just him keeping us on an even keel until we can get through. Like
you said with Pulis, it's fine if you. Obviously, there's going to be discontent and there's going to be people who are ambitious and more. And I get that. I'm with them, but I'm not with them because I'm kind of thinking big picture.
Yeah.
But that's fine if you're picking up results.
But we're not.
But we're not picking up. We've won one game in 12, and we've played some winnable games. And we pulled players back. I know we started with I know we've got a lot of injury problems, but we started with a kind of relatively strong team against Everton in the replay in the cup, and then we pulled players off who were clearly the better players
save them for the Arsenal
we're saving for the Arsenal game, and then got fucking spanked. It was
and
embarrassing.
It was a really bad performance.
Really, and corners. How shit! I've got a fiver with Alex. I don't know if you'll remember this. I said we won't score from a corner all season.
Yeah.
And I've watched enough of them to know that I genuinely feel quite confident that we won't score from a corner all season.
Which is mental, because traditionally it's something, and it's not like we don't have any players with the ability to.
I'll tell you what, I've seen, what's a shame is, I know we give it to Elise and Eza and that, but I actually saw Ayew put in a few corners in the AFCON recently. Fucking mate, he whips them in like he's a good little corner taker.
Yeah, but I'm guessing we keep him in the box for.
I don't know what we're doing, but he should be. He could take the corners.
Yeah. So in the last 16 games, Palace have won twice, drawn 5 times, lost 9 times, and in the last 3 games we haven't scored, and our last result was a 5-0 loss. So the argument of like,
are you looking at the games or have you just got the stats there?
Just the stats.
Because it's when you think about it, it's like the games we won. Brentford, they were dire, and they were without Ivan Toney, who unfortunately does make a massive difference for them.
I want to talk about him later.
And the other game we won was, God, I'm trying to think. I'll tell you what was bad game as well. Bournemouth at home. Yeah. Now I like Bournemouth. I think is it Iraola? I knew I was going to balls it up.
Iraola.
Yeah. I think he's carrying on from what Gary O'Neill was doing. I think he's doing a decent job. But Bournemouth at home, and I'm not trying to slight at Bournemouth, but that's a game you've got to be, if not winning,
a win.
Getting,
we have a better
a point
team than Bournemouth.
And if they just edge it, fair enough.
Yeah.
But they didn't just edge it.
No, and my other issue with Roy is like, I saw an argument being said that, with the injuries and stuff, he's sort of been hamstrung in terms of attacking options. I was like, well, no, he hasn't. We've got Raksaki.
No, he's been injured.
No, but there was a period where he was fit and just not getting played. And then you've got, I know Franco was injured at the start of the season, but he's
not getting a look in.
But he's not getting a look in. And then the really massive question mark for me this season is Dean Henderson. I don't understand why we signed him. I didn't understand it at the start of the season.
The big question mark for me is
and the 20 million price tag when we're being told there's no money about, to have spent that on a goalkeeper
we had a goalie.
Yeah, and Sam Johnston's more than good enough to be our starting goalkeeper.
For me as well, Naira Hamada, who's a box-to-box midfielder. That's what Stuttgart. All the Stuttgart fans said. Like, you're getting a really good.
And he sort of fits the Roy mould.
He genuinely goes. He does like a bit of box-to-box. He can play deeper. He can play further up. He's not necessarily an out-and-out attacking midfielder. No. He's not necessarily an out-and-out defensive.
But he can do the.
But he plays in the middle and he does that role.
Do the work.
And we've only ever played him on the wing.
Yeah.
And then we're all looking at it going, he's not that effective. He don't fucking play there. It's not his position.
While players like Frank are on the bench.
It's like putting Harry Maguire up front and going, oh, he's not all that.
And then I can't remember what game it was recently.
Yeah, I'm giving some Maguire love.
But we were looking for a goal, and he brought Schlupp on.
Mm.
And I was like...
I mean, Schlupp's versatile, but
he's not the player you bring on to get you a goal.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
This is... When we were like 3-0 down against Arsenal as well, and he sent on Tompkins, it's like, what are you playing for 3-0 loss?
Yeah.
I know goal difference can make a difference at the end of the season, but if goal difference makes a difference, fuck me, throw some of the kids on them, let them try and
have a go at it.
Either get some experience or try and get a goal, make it 3-1.
Yeah.
And what did we do? 5-0.
Why do you think he's doing it though? Like, why is he not? Because I can't understand why he's changed the style of football so drastically. It feels like from last season.
Tell you what,
I know Zaha's missing. But when I look
we've
at
got
the
quality
squad,
players. We've got competent
I can't
players.
understand why it's dropped off so drastically.
I think, and I genuinely, I'm not saying this to try and get like mad likes or some talk sport thing where we get people phoning in and going, "Are you mad? You're just talking shit." I genuinely worry that there's some kind of decomposition in Roy, like some kind of degenerative brain thing, like some kind of what are they called, dementia type situation. And I'll tell you the thing is the signpost for me. He might just be exhausted and he might be knackered, but in which case, why say yes? Why come and take it on? For me, the big indicators are the way he's been in the media.
Well, yeah.
So calling the fans out.
I didn't understand any of that.
Throwing the young players under the bus. All of that stuff. So for those of you that don't know, at least twice now this season, he's played young players and then said in the post-match interview they weren't good enough and they didn't make an impact. You don't do that when you've got a young kid trying to make some confidence.
The way that gets played is, at the very least in public, you say they did themselves proud today or something like that.
They've earned some good experience.
Even if you didn't want to shift or something like that.
Even if you don't feel like you can say something positive.
And then behind closed doors, big them up a little bit, but then go, but you need to start doing...
Even if you can't say something positive because they genuinely weren't very good, Don't say something negative. Like, that's
No.
just not how you treat young players. And
No.
it's not how Roy historically has treated players. Fans as well, like I said, calling the fans out, saying, I know he apologised for it afterwards, but saying that we've had it too good for too long and we've been spoilt and whatever. Now, the content of what he's saying might be true.
Yeah.
But fuck me, you don't say it.
No.
It's...
But also, I don't really think it's true. Like, there was another graphic I saw today. Like,
I sent you that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that-
after I finished looking
Is
at
that
that,
the
I found
one? Yeah,
one
that was a good
online.
one, wasn't it?
That
Very
killed
veiny. Yeah, that killed 5 minutes, didn't it?
Yeah. Twice. In the league, well, money spent on new players since 2019. In the whole Premier League, Palace are bottom.
Is that out of all the teams that have been in the Premier League, or is
I
that just
believe
teams
so,
that are
yeah.
currently in the Premier League?
So Palace are 21st out of all the teams listed. And like above us is Sheffield United, Burnley, Fulham, Bournemouth. So like, I know Palace and Parish have focused on the facilities and stuff. But like, I feel like now we're reaching a point where
There's got to be some investment. The balance is tipped too far
and the
one way.
stadium feels like this almost albatross around Parish's neck. And like, from what I've heard, it's not going to get started at the end of this season because they currently don't have the funding. They have about 110 million apparently saved up to do it, or financing in place, but they're missing the extra 45 that they need now.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
And then the board's not all aligned. I mean, Parish and the Blitzer and
Harrison Blitzer, yeah.
They pretty much keep Parish in charge, because I didn't realise the breakdown of the shares was that Parish only holds 10%. The Americans hold about 20%, I believe it
Ben
is.
Texter's the main.
He holds 40%. But he's inexplicably doesn't run the club because they hold just enough between the rest of them to keep Parish in charge. But then they're seen sitting together at matches, so I don't know what the situation is. Allegedly as well, the club's contacted the same group that dealt with the Chelsea takeover that found Bowley and all of that, and they were involved in another takeover, but they've been approached by Palace to sell a portion of the club. Rumoured it will be John Textor that sells at least a chunk of it to raise the missing money to.
He came in a
stand.
bit like I said he's a bit like Hank Scorpio from The Simpsons. When he came in, he was like, "Hey, you like football? I love football. I've got clubs everywhere. I've got clubs in France. I've got clubs in America. I've got clubs in England."
And he's constantly trying to flog us his own players. Do you know what I mean?
Which, to be fair, is like a way around the financial fair play a little bit.
It is, but like we're still paying. Like, they're not nominal fees that they're being touted at.
We talked about the financial fair play the other day. A big part of Palace not being as active in the transfer window, I think, is that every single player we get, we run them into the ground and then we let their contracts end, and they never get any money for them.
The last player we got a good fee for was
Wan-Bissaka.
Wan-Bissaka, and how long ago was that?
And
now?
I think Benteke went for like 10 maybe. So that means in the last 5 or 6.
Didn't they release him on a free?
I thought we got something for him, but if we
I think we got something like 2.5 mil.
If we did, let's call it 10.
Yeah.
That means, because that, you've kind of got to balance your. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but I know enough of the basics. You basically got to balance your ingoings and your outgoings. Yeah. You can't be spending beyond your means. And what that means is
there's like a certain percentage you're allowed to go above if you go over.
If we've spent 60 million, if we've made 60 million on transfers, 60 million over the last 5 or 6 years, that's like 10, 12 million a year.
Yeah.
That means that to balance it out, we've got about 10 or 12 million to play with a year. That's 2 transfer windows. That's nothing.
Yeah.
I know obviously there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
You've got income and you've got other incomes, and you've got the sponsorships and the match day tickets and all the TV rights and stuff. But transfers are a big help.
Oh, absolutely.
And we never get money for them.
It's why the bigger teams like City and Chelsea are selling their academy graduates, because it's pure profit on the balance sheet. There's no incoming transfer fee that they've got to account for. They're just flogging them. So that's why Mason Mount was sold from Chelsea for 60 million, because that's 60 million.
Yeah, because they didn't spend any money getting him. So as far as the paperwork's concerned,
yeah, it's pure profit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I genuinely, I know It's open for discussion. We discussed it now. I know we chatted a little bit about it, but do you think that that's a fair assessment of mine? Not that I'm looking for conversation, not validation.
I think definitely financial fair play is the reason we're hamstrung. The other part is Parish just doesn't have a lot of money, and the other investors aren't
willing to pump money in.
And to be honest with you, with the new sustainability rules, and we can talk about that as well, clubs just can't do that now unless you've got the income that matches what you're investing. Basically, you can't do it. Like the teams like Man City, they introduced rules pretty much the minute they heard the Saudis were going to buy Newcastle, to limit how much you can inflate your sponsorship, stadium sponsorship, shirt, all of that. Because the first thing Man City did when they got bought,
was rack up the price for everything and sell it onto themselves.
They basically got either their own companies or their mates' companies to pay huge fees for the stadium name, the shirt sponsorship, all of that, to give them that initial boost. And those are the things that they're being investigated for now. And probably going to get away with when fucking Everton. I know you don't like Everton.
No, but it's harsh. It's harsh to watch.
They're being bent over.
It's harsh to watch a team like Everton be made an example of when there are far more egregious breaches and more consistent breaches that are going to go unchecked and unpunished.
From what I've heard, Man City's abuse of the financial rules is so complete and absolute that how they haven't face sanctions yet.
Part of the thing as well. I mean, we're both on the same in agreement that they'll probably get away with it. But at the moment, the reason that other clubs are being punished and they're not is because the level of investigation needed is taking much more time and investment.
Man City's owners have to just
delay everything,
legally, whereas Everton haven't got that money.
No.
But it's created a situation now where even Newcastle, and I don't feel sorry for Newcastle. I feel almost sorry for their fans, like the decent fans, not the ones that started wearing Arab
some
garb.
Of them have turned into the most fucking spoiled little bitches I've ever met.
I do feel for them that they're like the last girl at the ball. Do you know what I mean? Like they've got the money. Like after Mike Ashley,
and everyone's
it's happening.
Pulled the ladder up behind them.
It's the football manager dream. The tycoon has taken over, and they're just going to fucking throw everything at it. And then immediately the rules come in, where it's like, and now they've gone out and actually bought a few decent players, and they're going to have to sell them all.
Yeah, it's the no homers club, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the it's actually we're not really looking for clubs invested heavily with like Middle East oil money, and they're like, well, you've got Qatar, and they went, it's the no clubs. We got one. We don't really need another.
Abu Dhabi. It's the UAE, isn't it?
Well, sorry, but they're like, we've already got one.
Yeah, we don't need any
it's
more.
plural. We don't need two.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're
out.
You're
the wrong sort of Arab for us.
You're out.
Yeah, you're too late to the party. But no, I do sort of feel for Newcastle.
Go and play with your Jordan Henderson.
That up until this season, it was completely fine to do exactly.
What's mental is that, like you said, it's so obvious and transparent that they've been doing it, and the second there's a bit of competition, they're like, let's change it.
There's shit like when they must be doing it with Pep as well. But when Mancini was hired, because obviously he was the big get when they first took over.
Yeah.
He was being paid so much money that they had to have him do a second job, because just like
the books.
Yeah, it looks. So he was employed by a club in the Middle East to be a consultant one day a month, where that job consisted of him taking a phone call with the chairman for like an hour.
Thank God, because I thought it would have been so brilliant, wouldn't it, if someone was flicking through the books years later and they go, why are you paying a cleaner £4 million a month? What's that about?
Yeah, because I think he was on like a basic salary of something like 8 million a year, which at the time was like Sir Alex, I think, was on that like when he retired, and then this Arab club was paying him like another 3 or 4 on top as like the little bit on the top that was tax free as well, and then that was
nice.
So like they found every way humanly possible to just.
It's what rich people are very good at.
It's not going to stop though, is it? But like, do you think Man City are going to get like? Because the rumours are if they're found guilty, it's relegation to League Two.
They'll get fined.
Really?
I think
They must have a point deduction,
I
surely.
think they can't afford not to punish them
Yeah.
because they know that screams too much corruption.
But if they punish them too hard, the conversations about the Super League start up again, don't they?
Yeah. And not just that, but
no one gives a shit if Everton gets relegated.
They
in
consider
reality,
them to be,
we'll all move on next season.
They consider to be big money earners. So they want, they want to keep them where they are. So fine them.
Yeah.
And they know they can absorb the fines.
But it's sort of, and I feel sort of proud of myself listening back to our last episode where we talked about Palace. I said my worry was that Palace could end up being priced out of the league. And with the new sustainability laws that you can't, it basically means now that you have to do a Leicester, but not just once. You need to be able to do that 2 or 3 times to build your club's status, to be able to get the sponsorships you deserve and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fucked.
It is. I know I've said it before and on this episode, on this podcast, and I know I still stick to it. I do genuinely believe that the Premier League, FIFA, UEFA, everything the way it's running now, I don't necessarily want to see it start up as a Super League, but I do think in our lifetimes, I'm not saying in the next couple of years, it will reach breaking point.
Yeah.
Because financially, A, there's too much money involved, and B, there's too much of a gulf between the top and the bottom. And like the biggest thing for me is that ultimately, who pays all this money into football? Why is there so much money in football? Us. The viewers, the watchers.
Do you know what's interesting?
There's only so much we can take.
Until recently, I would have wholeheartedly agreed that I thought it was unsustainable. But I listened to a podcast recently where they talked about this reporter had spoken to quite a few financial institutions, and obviously it's just one reporter, and he specialised in economy or in economics. And he said that by most financial institutions, they say English football in particular is still undervalued in terms of how far it can go.
And they may well be right, but it feels like certainly as a I don't know, maybe I'm...
The problem is there's only so much you can milk out of fans.
Yeah, well maybe I'm
in terms of money, isn't it?
As a match-going fan.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a very lucky position where, as it stands, and that won't happen forever because it will go fully digital, but as it stands, I'm in a position where I can get into games, most games, not all games, but for free at home. And I'm very lucky in that position because I looked at getting a ticket because there are some games where you can't always get a seat. And I thought, why don't I just buy a ticket? And, maybe
Are you allowed to stand and watch somewhere when that happens?
But not in the ground.
Yeah.
But like in the back of the
stand sort of
the
thing.
Stands,
on the
but
stairs
not actually on the terraces, not even on the stairs. No.
Really?
Actually watching the telly. Watching the telly, that's all you can stand and watch it. For like stewarding and all health and safety rules.
See, I'll just go home when it happens.
Yeah. But it's... Yeah, maybe it's because I'm skewed because like we're one of the cheaper grounds clubs. And I couldn't afford that. No. It was like... it was advertised as like 450 quid, I think it was, for a season ticket in the lower homes.
You were saying for one game.
No, it's advertised as like 450, but by the time you get through and you say, oh yeah.
See, that's not gone up drastically from when I was a season ticket holder.
No, but then you go through and they say, are you an adult? And you go, yes. And they go, 650.
Okay.
Or sorry, it was
620. Starting from this and then...
It was 620. And it was like, I can't afford that.
Okay, yeah, that has gone up.
I can't afford that. I know you can go in other stands.
I think my last one was 440. Was what I paid.
That's what, because like I said, when I saw it advertised at 450, I was like, 450, 480. I was like, I can kind of justify that. And I can kind of use the money that Palace are paying me to kind of subsidise it a little bit. I was like, I can sort of justify that. And then if I can't make a game work in it, I can still make a game watching it. And I was like, for the evening ones anyway. But at 620, I haven't got £620. No. I can't put that in. No. And that's only if you pay it in one go. Obviously, if you pay it in like monthly instalments, that's an extra £650 kind of thing. Yeah. And we're one of the cheaper ones. I know I'm very grateful that away day tickets are capped at £30, but that won't always be the case. That will be reviewed at some point. You
still have to pay for your travel, your food, your expenses.
Travel's ridiculous. And then also on top of that, what's really taking the piss, and this is what made you laugh recently, and I think a lot of people were taking the piss out of this, and maybe we can discuss it now briefly, the idea that in a couple of weeks Sky Sports are doing this, or it might even be the Premier League doing this sustainability weekend,
Okay.
this green weekend,
Right.
where it's all about encouraging sustainability and green things. But then they announced this on Saturday, and on Sunday Liverpool are playing Bournemouth.
Did they fly a private jet, did they?
No, but the kickoff is 4:30.
Right.
The last train back from Bournemouth to Liverpool was at 5:05. So, you're the ones that are organising games that make it difficult for fans. I mean, I remember we had a game against Newcastle midweek. It was either this season or last season. It might have been last season. And everyone was kind of saying, oh, this famous Palace fan base fucking can't even... It was a Wednesday night. There was no way to get back. So if you've got to take 2 days off work and pay for a hotel because you cannot get back on the same night.
Or do a ridiculous drive back.
And then even then, you're not going to work the next day. But yeah, you don't have... And it's like... So as a fan, I definitely feel... As a match-going fan, I feel unwanted by the Premier League.
I think, to be honest with you, other than to have people cheering in the stands, you pretty much are.
Yeah.
Like, the only way football continues to grow as a business is to be more exposed to more and more people. So they're going to do everything in their power to make sure the kickoff times are better for the audience at home and around the world rather than the people going. I think you're going to see the introduction eventually. I think this will be one of the ways they get more people in, will be matches abroad. I think you'll get a Premier League game.
Well, the Spanish Super Cup.
How long till the Premier League game is in Saudi Arabia or Qatar?
The semi-final and the final was in...
Was that in Spain, wasn't it?
Was in Saudi Arabia, I think. And there was a minute silence for, was it Beckenbauer? But they don't do minute silence in that culture. So there was a lot of noise and whistling and stuff. And it was seen by Europeans as being disrespectful. And there was a debate, a cultural debate. And I appreciate the cultural debate. But it's like, as one lad said online, it's like there's a really easy way to avoid this by holding the Spanish Cup final in fucking Spain. Personally, I'd hate if Palace made it to a final. And it wasn't in this country. It wasn't in this country.
Especially if it was a domestic competition.
Yeah. But also, do you remember that lad? The Liverpool fan. I don't know if you even saw it. I'm sure you did.
Ifs, buts, and I don't deal in ifs or buts. I only deal in absolutes.
Talking about
the sort of fans that show up, like they're eating they're going to get a piece, a pizza at the ground.
Basically saying, because he was complaining about Liverpool's atmosphere. He said it's gone downhill. He said the Anfield atmosphere ain't what it used to be. He said, and the reason is he says normal fans are being priced out for a very good reason, because I am not as valuable to them as someone who's come in as a tourist. Because if I go there, all I'm doing is I'm giving them my season ticket money. Maybe I buy a programme. Maybe I buy a beer.
Yeah.
But a tourist fan...
They're in the club shop.
They're buying on the concourses. Yeah. They make a whole thing of it.
They're buying scarves from the tellers around the place. They're buying
everything. Shirts, they're buying bags, they're buying merchandises.
Yeah.
Merchandise.
Yeah, and they're far more willing to splurge when they're in the stadium, so they're most likely to buy food and drink while they're in there.
And it's true, like I have seen at Palace more and more tourists.
Well, that's ultimately
coming in.
What the new stand is about. It's about being able to
accommodate them,
but the hospitality facility to accommodate more and more people that are willing to spend money.
Again, it's a fine balance. I do like the idea of people wanting to come and watch Palace, but equally, if it's at my expense.
I think the simple way around
suddenly I'm not on board with that.
Have an allocation dictated by the Premier League. I don't know, off the top of my head, maybe a 5% allocation or 10% allocation for tourist match goers. Do you know what I mean? And the rest be available to...
How do you determine whether someone's a tourist
or...
a
UK passport to buy
collect a ticket?
Yeah.
But what about people that
don't have passports?
I mean, there's lots of things.
Yeah, there's all sorts of issues with it,
But it does feel, I know that's not what we were talking about at all. I've just gone on like a bit of a rant, but you do feel pushed out of the game.
I think fans are completely unwanted in terms of match-going fans. I think, like I said, only to have people there that are cheering. I think unless you're willing to spend more money, that's going to continue to happen. And they're going to put prices up because people that are coming as a one-off are going to be more willing to spend the extra on the ticket than...
But then, like, on the
someone
TV,
who's always paid far less their whole life.
On the TV side of it, again, we're in a cost of living crisis. More and more people are turning to VPNs and illegal streamers and stuff because...
And they're prosecuting people.
Yeah, but it's like, we can't afford to watch it. So
No.
the simple answer would be to stop. You go, well, we have to charge you that because we want it, and it's like, or here's a crazy idea: no one plays their game. Instead of all outbidding each other, I know you want it, but instead of all outbidding each other and then passing the cost on to us, why don't you all agree a cap or a sharing scheme and go, do you know what?
But then the Premier League isn't going to go along with that.
No.
Like, the transformation of the Premier League,
I know it's
sadly,
difficult
has
logistically.
gone hand in hand with the increase in the revenues coming in from broadcasters, hasn't it? So, like, the bidding war only feeds into what the Premier League wants. That's only going to keep going on, sadly. So, I think fans, like traditional fans, are going to get priced out slowly.
Doesn't feel slow either. It feels like quite.
Well, no, but I know
what
been
you
a
mean.
steady progression, I guess. But no, going back to Palace for a minute, like with the new stand, it has to happen. Like no matter what, he needs to throw in the extra 40 million himself. Do you still support Parish fully?
I do. I think there's a couple of things that sway me.
Because I feel like we've been very supportive of him in the past, and I feel like we need to be a bit more balanced this time and criticise him a little bit.
I think I'm not as fully behind him.
Yeah.
Because I think right now there's a balance between making sure the club's financially stable and trying to think big picture and actually fucking giving the fans something. I mean, fucking Christ, most people live for this shit at the weekend.
In his defence, as of today, we're in negotiations for a new right back called Munoz from Genk.
Yeah, but how often have we had deals fall through because we're not willing to pay the money?
Or West Ham come in and pay
Or
that
West Ham come in and take them.
Calvin Phillips was a prime example. Apparently, we were quite advanced into loan negotiations, and lo and behold, West Ham come in. Any time a player that seems like, oh, that's actually an all right signing.
I mean, we were looking at Bowen as well.
Yeah, I remember that thinking, oh yeah, I quite like the idea of Bowen. I wasn't 100% sure.
I wasn't sold on him completely.
And then Flynn
but
Downs was another one. I mean, he's not done much at West Ham, to be fair, so we probably avoided on that one. But yeah, we're being linked with Munoz, who apparently we've already agreed personal terms with, and he's now refusing to train for Genk because they rejected our initial bid. And we've also been linked with Adam Wharton from Blackburn. He's like a sort of box-to-box midfielder, young.
Not well enough anyway.
No, I only know him from Football Manager, if I'm being honest. He is considered a wonder kid in Football Manager. So if we're going off that, he's going to be a start, but that's around a £15 million pound deal. Probably will rise to 25 if it comes. Do you know what I mean?
Let's throw an add in of like a rise to 25 if Palace win the Champions League, or if he wins the Ballon d'Or or something.
Yeah.
Look, here's where I stand on Parish. Here's the things. I think we definitely need to redress the balance between big picture and now.
Yeah.
But I think, especially what we're seeing with the likes of Everton and Forest being chased down by FFP, I definitely think that he's got the club's best interest in heart. Whether he's going to bat it the right way, no one's perfect.
I think he's made some quite big mistakes. I don't think he's made them deliberately. The biggest one is who he's chosen as investors.
This might sound really... Yeah, I think bringing Textor in was a bad idea. Harris and Blitzen don't want to put any money in.
No, and to be honest, the only article I read when I heard they were buying into the club was that they're not people that put their hand in their pocket.
No.
They keep things stable, but beyond that...
But I do appreciate... I think the one thing maybe I would criticise of him as well, and it might seem a bit... Maybe people will be like, you don't know him. Maybe he'd say, you don't know me. Feel like he needs to be a bit more ruthless, because sometimes it feels like he just hangs on to... Like with Roy.
Yeah.
It feels like you should have been a lot more decisive, a lot more ruthless, and said, "Look, Roy, we need to build for the future."
Yeah.
Or even if we don't need to build for the future, we need something a bit more long term.
Yeah.
And the person, and it was negative last time. We don't want to go back to that. All of that.
And the person we're being linked with most heavily to replace Roy is Steve Cooper. And I have my reservations about him in general, but my main one is that we interviewed him before we appointed Hodgson, so we'd obviously decided he wasn't good enough then and Hodgson was a better choice. So what's the difference? Like, apparently he was Like, he was still at Forest when I think it was being rumbled a bit earlier in the season that Hodgson might go before the end, and that he was pretty much
up for it,
ready and raring to go. But we obviously decided that's not what we want. So I feel like the decision making at the club feels very dithered. Like how long it takes us to sign players. Like at the start of the summer, there'll be clubs that just the first week their business is done. But Palace, it will be like the last week and we're still like, we've only signed one player. Like, what's happening? Do you know what I mean?
And we've got a lot of gaps injury-wise. Even if we just bring in loan players, we need to do something.
And since Aaron Wan-Bissaka left, we've been saying we need a fucking right back.
Yeah.
To the point where it's got to the point where he's been linked with coming back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's how ridiculous it is.
We replaced Roy with Roy.
The replacement for Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Why not replace Wan-Bissaka with Wan-Bissaka? We might as well get Zaha back and replace Zaha with Zaha.
Well, there are rumours apparently that he's up for sale in the January window.
I'm trying to think, what other positions have we never filled?
Can you imagine if we got him back in on loan?
Oh, man. Just for the shits and giggles.
We might as well. Do you know what I mean? Just for the season. Will just come back.
Do you know what? Let me throw this out there, okay? Crazy position. But let's get him now.
Yeah.
And let's get him in as player manager.
Who?
Zaha.
Really?
Let's bring him in as player manager.
I just can't
Who would you have player manager out of the current crop?
Out of the current... See, straight away, if you were to ask me player manager from anyone, the first player that popped in my head was Jedinak. I was like, I reckon even to this day, if you sat him at the base of an energetic midfield and just behind the midfield, just mopping shit up and coaching, I think he could do it.
I don't think you appreciate how much time has passed since he was
Have
playing
you seen
professional
that, man?
football.
He's a big part of the Villa setup.
I love Jedi.
And he's...
but he's not fucking playing.
No, but
I mean,
do you know what he's doing? Do you know what his job is?
He might be having a great season, but he's not sitting in front of the back four.
He sits in the stands or in like the box at the Villa games, and he'll be on the phone to Unai saying, we need to do X, Y, and Z.
And that's great, but he's not sitting on the pitch doing it,
no, but he could.
But
that man was a master.
I love him. I'm all for it. But out of the current crop.
Oh, I'm just trying to... I'm like reading through the squad in my head. Joel
Wardy, Wardy's been there a while. He could.
Yeah, I feel like the players would respect him. They'd at least give him a chance. Do you know what I mean? Maybe Gahey. He seems like quite a strong presence in the team.
Who do you think's the player most?
Maybe even Johnston.
Who's the player least likely to pick themselves as player man? Like if they were doing the team, their player manager.
Will Hughes.
Who's the most likely to go? Do you know what, boys? I'm better off on the sidelines.
Will Hughes.
He's the one. Who's the one most likely to pick themselves? Go. Obviously, I'm playing.
I feel like, I don't know why, Mateta. That's the name. Like straight away, I'm like, I can see him really loving himself.
Yeah, but JP.
No, otherwise it would be Elise. Actually, I think he'd probably put himself.
Obviously,
on
I'm starting.
First. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
No, it never works really either.
How come you don't see player managers anymore? Is it just because
it doesn't work? Every time
it had worked.
It worked in the past because the speed of the game was such that as long as you were technically capable when you were playing, you could get away with it. Like Brian Clough's, one of his biggest moves was, I think it was Dave Mackay was a striker, like nearly 40, and he signed him to play him as a sweeper because he was like, he can't move for shit, but he can read the game. So you can get away with doing shit like that back then. Glenn Hoddle, I think, was it Swindon?
Yeah.
He went in as player manager. And like the stories are that he would just get the ball and be like, yeah, just do this. And he would ping it 60 yards.
Yeah,
into
no, I love
someone's
those.
foot. And it's like, he was technically capable, so you can get away with it.
Dalglish won trophies.
True. But again, that's old. Do you know what I mean? That's not current football. I don't think you could do it now. Like, no. Maybe Pirlo could have, but he's not a particularly good manager. So,
I'm not saying there's not good reason. I'm just,
I don't think players...
Even lower down in the league.
They'd have to still be quite young. Do you know what I mean? Maybe in the lower leagues. But again, I feel like the physicality is... Like Edgar Davids did it. That's one of the most recent ones I can think of when he went to Barnet. And it was just a disaster. So
maybe also there's so many there's a lot of coaches already existing. There's even more players, ex-players, that are getting their badges and trying to be coaches. So maybe there's just too much demand.
Quite inherently arrogant as well, isn't it?
It's a little. Well, it's
And
a
I
little
think
bit. I think you've got to have a certain humility, to be honest.
Yeah, but I feel like, particularly if you're the sort of player manager that actually plays yourself, like all the players that talk about when Edgar Davids was at Barnet was just like he was a complete bellend. None of us liked him. His arrogance was mental, and he'd get sent off and shit. And it's just, do you know what I mean? It's just not on. And I like Edgar Davids. You know, he came and played for Palace once.
He had a look.
Yeah. I digged his look. I like the hair. I like the goggles. Do you know what I mean? I'm on board.
Maybe you should copy it.
I don't know. I mean, Adele got in trouble for cultural appropriation, didn't she?
She did, but you're a man as well, so you got a little bit of an edge.
And I'm white, so I have that.
Well, Adele's also. I mean, I think part of the problem.
No, but I'm white and male.
You're white and male. You've kind of got more of a
Cisgendered.
leeway. You just look like you're having a gap year.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's always it's not always, but isn't it funny that quite often that kind of stuff it's a posh boy thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because normally to have a gap year.
No, I don't mean a gap year. I mean the cultural appropriation of hairdos.
Well, yeah, because the richer you are, the less attached to reality you are. Like, I have no idea what a black person's life is like day to day. I genuinely don't. But I have more of an idea than someone who's gone to a private school. Do you know what I mean?
I think that they probably. No, you're right.
I don't think the average. They'd have any idea what the average black person's life was like. Do you know what I mean?
Or the average person.
Well, no, exactly. They're that detached from it. So.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Speaking of people on gap years, Ivan Toney's returned.
Yes.
To the Premier League.
They made such a big deal out of it.
I was going to say, I remember we talked about this before, but I'm sort of uncomfortable with the image being portrayed of
the
Ivan
hero,
Toney.
the returning hero. Yeah.
Like this. It started off as he was this poor victim. He's a gambling addict, which I don't believe, by the way. But even if he is, fair enough. But he still fucked up and knew what he was doing, and yeah. And then he's come back, and he's getting this hero's welcome. Where the interview he did before the match, he was like, the minute I get a better option,
I'm out.
And but he turns up to the stadium, they do the Undertaker theme tune.
It felt disproportionate, didn't it?
Mental. I don't understand it at all. And actually, it's made me really lose respect for Brentford as an institution and their fans, to be honest with you, that they're allowing that sort of shit to go on.
I mean, he did score on his return.
He did.
And it was a very interesting goal, wasn't it?
I don't actually have an issue with what he did.
Oh, well, I have a little
essentially,
bit, maybe. But
from my eye, it just looked like he just moved it a bit to the side.
Yeah. But when no one was looking and he scooped... It's the way he did it for me. He didn't just move it to the side. He scooped some of the foam.
No, but is what he
and
did
moved
in
it
terms
over
of
so it
moving
looked fine.
As long as you're not moving it closer to the goal, you haven't done anything wrong.
No, but considering he went round the wall, he moved it closer to being... he moved it...
No, but he's not moving... What I mean, he's not it's not... He wasn't moving it literally more
No, but
towards
if I'm going around... from where I'm looking now, if I'm going round your laptop and from here, and I'm going round your laptop from here... Well, this is the other thing.
And the keeper. Why weren't they paying attention
Ryan Yates
to
turned around.
Yeah.
Because when he moved it, I don't know if you've seen this, but when he moved it, the wall was in discussion with itself, and Ryan Yates on the end of the wall was having a discussion with the keeper, and he's questioning him, going, is it going to go round?
Yeah.
And he went, no, it'll be fine. But while they're having that discussion, he's moving the ball over.
Yeah.
So suddenly, if they moved their wall over a little bit, might have stopped it.
Yeah, but there's how many people in that wall? And there was a draft excluder. Which,
I know,
by the way,
stupid at it.
I hate it so much. There's a grown man lying on the floor because they're afraid someone's going to score. It's just fucking loot.
Has some self-respect.
Do you know what I mean? You might as well just lay on the floor in the goal. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know who it makes me think of? Players with reputations
and also, the free kick, right? It's a decent finish. Just stick a fucking leg out.
Yeah. Well,
do you know what I mean?
That's where you come into it, should it have even been that far over?
Well, that's why I don't really have a big deal with what he did, because it's the Premier League. Like, they're all Premier League defenders. Like, fucking pay attention.
But do you know who wouldn't? Do you know the whole on the ground thing? Players with reputations like David Bentley.
Yeah.
I can imagine them being like, right, Dave, we need you to stand on the floor. Be like, fuck that, I ain't laying on the floor.
No.
I'm a fully grown man. I'm not laying on the fucking floor for no one.
Absolutely. Have some self-respect. It's bad enough they throw themselves on the floor for free kicks and penalties.
Some of them are so bad, though, aren't they?
Yeah. But, like, the thing I have least issue with Ivan Toney is how he took the free kick. My bigger issue is the level of respect he's shown to Brentford, to be honest.
Speaking of jumping around the floor,
Yeah.
did you see the one at AFCON?
No.
Where the player went down, it basically, the ball's come across from the left. The striker's gone down and like properly thrown himself to the floor and been like, I'm injured, and properly holding
himself.
Isn't it all
match fixed?
No, but
African football.
he's like proper. Well, I don't think so. AFCON, not AFCON.
There's a lot of dodgy shit going on.
But he rolls on the floor. He's holding his leg and his ankle and whatever, and he's like, I'm hurt. I'm so hurt. It falls to a teammate of his at the back post on the right, who slots it home, and he's done like 2 rolls holding with his face in agony, and as soon as the ball hits the back of the net, he springs up and he goes off to celebrate.
See, I think you should be sent
beautiful.
off for that. I think that should be an instant red card if that's seen. Like, I think VAR should be watching that shit, and they should be like, "Oi, ref, come have a look at the screen. Look at what this dickhead's just done."
But it was just beautiful.
And then just immediately send them off.
It was like, that, my friend, is what you call subtlety.
I actually think they should be escorted out of the stadium. I don't even think they should be allowed to get changed.
Do you know what? There's certain things, isn't it funny? There's certain things on the football pitch, and I don't necessarily think they should be red, but instances where players not making any attempt at the ball.
Yeah.
And if you did that in the street, I know it's you can't compare it, but it would just be assault.
No, to be honest, I don't run into a lot of random 50-50s on the street.
No, but I'm not talking about 50-50s. I mean when there's no attempt at the ball whatsoever. You know, the shirt pulls, the shoulder pulls.
About 2 foot in a random child we've seen kicking the ball about. Come on.
I think I've said it on this pod. I thought about 2 foot in the kid in the Al Nasser kit.
Yes, you did actually, didn't you?
Yeah, see him.
He
like
didn't even have a ball at his feet.
No.
He's not even in the game.
That's a very late tackle.
You've just seen a kid wearing a kit and lost your mind.
Joey would be proud.
Like Roy Keane.
Joey Barton would be proud.
Oh, mate. He hasn't gone quiet, has he?
He has not gone quiet into that good night. He is fighting the fight.
He's fighting the dying of the light, isn't he? He's raging against the dying of the light.
He thinks he is fighting some fight.
Does he though?
I think he does.
I
mean, he's on a graph.
He's now going after the racial aspect, isn't he? He's going after like Ian Wright's debate. I'm not just
strong from a man whose brother did time in prison for murdering a black man.
Yeah, or for helping
in what was genuinely
a horrific
decided by the courts and by the police as a racially aggravated assault.
Yeah,
seems quite strong.
Yeah,
I know he's not his brother.
Sort of on brand though, isn't it?
He has defended his brother in the past.
Yeah. Well, from what we hear, he beats women, so it's not surprising he hasn't. He doesn't see an issue.
Who does he hate more, women or black people?
I don't know. It seems like it's
I mean, if you're a black woman,
absolute
thing. Dreadful. Definitely stay clear.
I actually listened to. Do you remember Nader Manua?
Yeah, I like Nader Manua.
He played for. He's a really good sports journalist.
Yeah,
now.
he's quite
really
articulate.
He really is, and he was on a podcast.
I've seen him on Match of the Day a couple of times, Football Focus or whatever. One of them.
He's very. The way he talks is just very nice to listen to, and he's incredibly knowledgeable.
Was he at City when they won it, or had he moved on by that point?
I think he moved on the season before, because basically as soon as Mancini came in, I think they kept him for one more season to use him for squad registration after saying they were going to. The story he told was really bad, actually. Mancini came in, barely played, got to the end of the season, and he was really pissed off, didn't like Mancini because he wouldn't talk to the players either. You just got dropped and never spoken to ever again. And he got kicked out of first team training, all of that. And it gets to the end of the season and he goes to Mancini's office and he's like, look, I just want to know, have I got any chance of making it back in or do I need to leave? And he was like, oh, let me have a think and I'll get back to you. He gets married, goes on his honeymoon, and on the first day of his honeymoon, he gets a text from the club, player liaison saying, you need to find a new club.
Class.
But yeah, the reason I was talking about him was... No, it's absolutely fine. He talked about Joey Barton, and he said he's just an absolute bully through and through. like the story about him stubbing the cigar out in a youngster's eye. It's reported that the youngster started it by trying to set light to Joey's shirt. And he said, no, what was actually happening that night was Joey was going around trying to set light. Yeah, and he said Joey was going around trying to set light to people's shirts. And then when the youngster did it back to him, he didn't find it funny and stubbed the cigar out, dressed as Jimmy Savile.
It's technically true, but there's context missing.
Yeah, the fact that Joey was actually the one going around.
It was retaliation for someone trying to do it, but someone was only trying to do it after he was trying to do it to them, yeah.
And then he
doing
talks
this as
about
if I've actually got a lighter.
The other youngster, Darbo, that he beat senseless in a training session.
Yes.
And he said basically if any player came into the squad that was challenging for the midfield position, he just made their life hell. He'd target them in any way humanly possible. He said psychologically.
Rather than just accepting that that's the game.
Yeah, and he said then in training, he'd be flying into challenges.
Trying to make sure that they...
Or he would, if he was getting in trouble for it, would start getting more clever about it and just doing little niggly ones, but constantly.
Just to try and make sure that you weren't there. Yeah,
and
weren't
basically
playing.
To try and make you either be off your game or snap and then get done by the club for disciplinary reasons. And this young lad, Darbo, snapped, shoved him, and then next thing he knows, he's being grabbed by the head and punched senseless by Barton.
Yeah, he's never, even in his playing days, he never came across like a nice guy. No. Ever. All this stuff that's come out now, you wouldn't maybe have suspected it.
Football's Lawrence Fox now, isn't he? Effectively.
A little bit.
Yeah, just this
a man who was never really in demand.
No, but make sure his voice is heard at all times.
He's a man who was never really in demand, claiming now that the reason he's not in demand is because of some crusade against him.
Nonsense.
And not because people just don't like him very much or because he's not very good at what he did. I mean, he was okay. He played at a good level.
The thing is, I think as a player, in terms of his actual ability, he was quite a good player.
I always thought...
To get to the Premier League, you have to be a good player.
I always thought with Joey Barton, and it's easy to say a lot of things with retrospect and with hindsight, but I've said it, to plenty of people at the time. It was like he had the potential to be a really good player, but if he wasn't so much of a fucking dickhead. And that was before all this stuff came out. Just all the shit you see on the pitch. It was like, fuck, if he weren't such a prick. Behaviour.
Yeah.
He's
clearly just
he could be a decent player.
Sad and angry man, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know the ins and outs of his childhood, but from what I've heard, they didn't have the best childhood.
You wouldn't be surprised.
No. But that doesn't obviously excuse the behaviour now. But I guess it feeds into the argument or the conversation we've had before about the need for, at an early age, mental health care for young men, and particularly young people in general, and young people that have been in unstable homes.
A lot of discussion currently about young people and mental health. Be interesting to talk about it at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm down for that. So yeah, we've done a football pod, bro.
Is
there anything else you'd like to cover?
No, I mean, very quickly, maybe the AC Milan thing.
Oh yes, of course.
Mike Maignan, what's his name?
Maignan.
Yeah. I'm not that familiar with him. I'm not that familiar with Italian football.
Wasn't he at Lille before he went to Milan, I want to say?
Don't know, and I've been to Lille.
Yeah.
I've seen Lille play, and I couldn't tell you.
No, I don't think he was there when you were there, to be fair. But no, I mean, Italy it's well known. Yeah. This isn't an isolated incident.
There's an incident in the EFL as well, wasn't there?
Yes,
last weekend.
In Coventry, Casey Palmer was racially abused someone.
And he literally... The thing is, the crowd...
simulated certain things at him.
In AC Milan, and in some of those big games, they're big crowds. With all due respect, that was not a big crowd in the Coventry game, and the guy was quite clearly identified.
Do you know what was... I felt bad for Barry Bannon. Did you see what went on with that, with the Casey Palmer incident for Coventry?
I'm vaguely aware of it.
Obviously, the gesture happened. Casey Palmer saw it. Obviously, went to go and talk to the officials to make them aware what happened. Barry Bannon didn't see what had happened. He just saw that Casey was talking to the ref for ages. So he was seen on camera saying, mate, just get on with it. Not knowing...
Thinking he was appealing for a free kick or a penalty or something, yeah.
And then, obviously, he then goes over to Casey, and Casey tells him what happens. And he said, obviously, immediately, I'm like, all right, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do. but he had to do a statement because obviously he was getting called out by a lot of people saying like, what a shit attitude. And he was like, no, I'm sorry, I didn't, obviously just didn't see.
But the Mike Minor thing of Manion.
Yeah, he got racially abused multiple times in the match, didn't he?
And he had enough. He
just left the pitch.
As soon as he said it to his other teammates, they all went, yeah, okay,
no worries,
we're with you. They came back out.
To be fair, this isn't the first time it's happened in Italy.
It's a real big problem. Well, there was one of the actual media guys on their kind of like football focus match of the day thing. That he actually called Lukaku a gorilla, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that's not like some little internet. That's fucking mainstream TV.
Yeah. What I find interesting is that it's talked about like it's exclusively football issue. Like,
it's a societal issue. Of course it is.
I know it's manifesting itself in a football match, but it's by no means isolated to that football match. I don't ban these people. That's part of the solution. But
they're still going to be racist in society.
Yes, so we have to find a solution.
Let me ask you this, and I feel it's a nuanced question, and I don't expect you to give me a really concise, enlightening answer.
No.
Okay, so feel the pressure off a little bit. Do you think, and it's an either or, I'm going to give you an A or B type situation question. Okay. It's a closed question.
Let me have a drink.
Do you think that punishing the clubs, i.e. taking away points for racist incidents, will A, unfairly punish the fans, the large majority of who are not racist, or certainly not vocally racist, or will it B, encourage the fans to sort of police themselves a bit more, or at least make the vocally racist ones keep it to themselves?
I think that's what the aim is B. I think that's
But do you think it will work that way? Do you think they will keep it to themselves?
No, I just think they get pushed to the fringes. They find somewhere else. My worry with people that go because I can't understand why you'd go to a football match or to anywhere and racially abuse someone, but to go and pay your money for the team you support and do that to a player that you're supposed to be there to support.
Or even if it's on an opposition player.
Yeah, I can't understand being in the mindset to go and do that. So my worry is, what do these people become capable of if they can't do it there? Do you know what I mean? And we're not dealing with the issue by just banning them. My worry is what happens when people get more and more marginalised, and it doesn't mean I think the problem is,
obviously we shouldn't be supporting them.
No, that's the optical issue of it. But I see that as supporting society, not necessarily supporting that one person, like giving that person help to not be a racist.
But how do you help them?
Oh, that's the question. I don't know what the answer to that
Like
is.
I said, I knew there wasn't like a really concise answer.
It's social economic investment and reform. It's putting programs in place. It's doing studies. It's
clamping down on the media.
Spending time and money on working out how most racists become racist. Do you know what I mean? And shit like that, and then working out ways to crack down on that issue.
More pressure on social media, more pressure on.
And I feel like we learn more and more as time goes on. The more studies are done, and it's across all different areas that social economic reform and investment tends to cure most societal issues, like even in basic things like crime. Glasgow was the most dangerous city in Europe for a long time. It's still not the best, but it's been transformed through social economic reform and investment. Like the drug trials and laws that have been changed in Portugal, it's been transformational. Like it's not, none of it's rocket science. Do you know what I mean? Like the appetite's not there because we see it as like we're helping the wrong people. I feel like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a very selfish thing, isn't it? It's
like the optics of helping people on drugs, for example, is we're helping druggies. Do you know what I mean? We're helping crackheads. That's the optics of it, rather than.
And I think it comes from a place. I might be wrong, but it feels like it comes from a place of that whole. If there's some for someone else, I won't get any.
That's it. Yeah.
It's like, well, they're a druggie. Why are you helping them? Where's my help?
If there's wasting money on drug addicts, there's homeless veterans we could be helping.
Yeah, which is the go-to, obviously.
Let's help all of them.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? But that's never the conversation that's had.
No.
So I don't think racism in football will be fixed because I don't think it will be fixed in society.
I
don't know if you can 100%.
I appreciate the irony
sadly,
of me and you talking about
considering we're two white
racism.
men.
Yeah.
But we don't have any black friends, so
I can't even get away with it.
No, we can't. We've got no
I would
one to
love.
reach
I would
for.
love someone to be called up by that. You know, when they go like, "Oh, I've got a black
Do
friend."
you?
I would
Prove
love someone
it.
to be like, "Yeah,
Let's go through your entire
that's such
Facebook list,
bullshit.
and it's the
That's
white.
such
It's like the
bullshit."
Dulux colour chart of white. You know what I mean? Just. But yeah,
Like a fucking skinhead rally.
yeah. But look, I think I can speak for us both wholeheartedly when I say we both stand with Big Mike from AC Milan.
Yeah, definitely.
And I say Big Mike because I can't pronounce his surname.
I do genuinely believe that
Manuel.
players should just walk off if they experience it. Like, I know
Yeah.
as a fan,
One
if
of-
I saw my team walk off, I'd be a bit like, well, hang on a
Yeah,
minute.
of course you're going to
But
feel a bit
when you find out
shortchanged.
what it is,
Yeah, any
I'm on
decent
board.
person
I'm
should
fine.
be on board with it. My worry is, are they pressured to go back on? Like,
I
they
think
went
they
back on
are.
10 minutes later. I'm like, I don't think they should have gone back
all
on.
that TV money and stuff.
Yeah, that's my worry, is that will always be what outweighs the good shit we do. So, like, the walking off the pitch is great, but if we're not actually then supporting the players making that decision, then
It's also
it's toothless.
It's like a bit of, it is toothless. It's a bit of fear. You know, if they did walk off and stay off, it would start a huge conversation about racism around football in Italy. And all that would come of it is everyone go, we need to do more. And then a year from now, they're going, or a month from now, they're going, right, let's all wear T-shirts for a couple of games. And then it'd move away.
That was why I completely understood when there was swaths of people in football. Like, I think Les Ferdinand was the first big person to speak out when they refused to keep taking the knee, because they were like, this is just... We're just doing
There's
this
our
for
half famous
shits and
season, and he
giggles,
got shit for
basically.
it.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
it doesn't mean anything. We keep wearing the T-shirts. We keep taking a knee. We don't make any change whatsoever. So, but I don't think football necessarily has the power to change it. But I think the way it changes societally is by making sure the fans are sort of policing it. And that's a bit of an unfair pressure to put on fans. But if you want to not have games called off or have the match screwed up by players having to walk off because there's one dickhead in your stand
Like I said, it might.
that won't shut his mouth.
It's not ideal. Ideal is you have no racists at the game, but I think football can't police society. It can't fix it. But I think what it can do is it can do a lot more to make football a racist-free environment by saying that even if you are racist, like ideally you're not, but even if you are racist, at least you have the good sense to keep that shit
Shut
to
your
yourself
mouth,
while you're at the football.
Yeah, and one of the ways, like, I remember once when we were, I don't know if you were there for it, was it the Fulham game we went to, and they were playing a Polish team. It was in like the Europa League. It was years ago.
I mean, I went to a few during that Europa campaign.
And I just remember we were in the Fulham end with, I think it was Craig and Matt and a couple of other people. And the Polish team scored first, and just one bloke jumped up in the Fulham end, and within 10 seconds of being on his feet, he was flat on his arse because someone had hit him. And like, I think like that, maybe we need a bit of mob justice when it comes to racism in football.
Yeah, I see what you mean. If someone hit a
hits a
racist,
racist, they're going to think twice about doing it at the next game if they get to go to a next game. And I think the only way in which the walking off and coming back 10 minutes later works is if they've identified the person being racist, they can get them out, and then the players are free to come back less worried about being racially abused.
Yeah, it's a tough issue, but there's definitely, I think we've said it before and we'll say it again, a lot more could be done.
Yeah.
It's very low impact, the campaigns that
we stand with our BAME brothers in football and in all walks of life.
Yeah, I just think all black and Asian people probably are the most susceptible to it in our society.
Yeah.
And in football, more black people. Yeah, I support and encourage more to be done for them.
Yeah, like
not even by them, for them, by their teammates,
and like
by the club.
One thing I'd make clear, like, I don't have an issue with people taking the knee, wearing kick-out racism shirts.
It doesn't do anything.
No, do that, but pair it with actual
action.
Yeah. So
yeah,
and to be honest, there's enough money in football for them to be doing more. Do you know what I mean? So,
not a Palace. We might just have to accept racism as part of the club because we can't afford to kick it out.
Nah, to be honest, I think Palace is fortunately, because of where it is in Croydon, it's a melting pot of like different ethnicities.
Still racism there. I've still seen some.
Of course there is. But I'd like to
or have
think
known it.
we've got a quite a multicultural fan
But do
base
every
that
club
does.
think like that?
Possibly.
Do every club think, well, it's not us, we're all right?
Well, no, look, I'm not saying Palace should be complacent, but I just feel like, and I could be wrong, I haven't been to a match for ages at Selhurst, so I haven't had a good look at who's around.
When we played Tottenham last time,
Yeah.
there was someone being quite anti-Semitic in
Really?
it from the Palace end.
Yeah, but one of the reasons I started to just not enjoy it was some of the abuse I heard hurled at players in general. Like, I remember there was a game against Man United where, and I was really excited. We were seeing some like genuine megastars, like
fair.
Wayne Rooney was playing.
That's Man United. They're due the stick.
But no, like the shit that was being said to Rooney, for example, I can't repeat on the podcast. And I remember sitting there going,
I meant what I said.
I don't understand it though. Do you know what I mean? I understand rivalry and disliking opposition players, but to dislike them
I meant every word.
That degree. Well, when you mentioned his and other people's grandmothers as well, that's where I thought you crossed the line.
Just trying to hook him up. Just trying to hook a brother up.
Well, famously, he likes them. So.
Just trying to help him out. It's him that did the note, wasn't it, to the hooker, to the prostitute, the sex worker that was like, you know, ha ha, I shagged you.
Is that what he left us like the morning after?
Yeah.
He'd slinked out during the night and went, ha ha.
I shagged you on the bit of paper.
Well, look, we knew he was a classy guy. Do you know what I mean?
And they say love letters are dead.
And you can see why Birmingham wanted him so badly.
What a mistake.
Yeah.
Absolutely right to get rid of him.
To be honest with you, I really hoped it was going to go well for him, but it wasn't ever going to.
I feel like I have to say this now just because you mentioned Birmingham, but Tony Mowbray has obviously gone in there.
Yeah.
And his first press conference, he spent a considerable amount talking about the catering. He was like, I thought I'd had it good at other clubs. He said, but I'll tell you what, how lucky are you to the journalist? Like the spread that they put on here. He said, I thought I was lucky at other clubs. I said, but I'll tell you what, the food here is absolutely top tier, and it's such a weird thing.
Do you think it's like a distraction tactic? Like, don't
we're
worry
not,
about how
we're not
the
shit.
place is on fire.
We're not shit.
Just
how good are them hot dogs?
Those fucking sausage rolls back there.
Banging, aren't they?
You should be thankful.
What? 4-0 again? Yeah, we know not everyone can win. Have another burger. Go on, son. Good.
He's like a manager that's had sort of a late career revival, hasn't he? Because he sort of slinked into football.
He's such a journeyman manager. I'm half expecting him to turn up and do a couple of days at our branch.
It felt
I feel like he should manage everywhere.
I feel like he slipped into the wilderness, sort of like the Alan Kirbishleys of this world.
Yeah, dived off a little bit.
And then just out of nowhere, he was back he was back at Sunderland and did a really good job. Do you know what I mean? So until he didn't. But
yeah, if you're out there and you're in the Midlands, the West Midlands, and you fancy a good bit of grub, Birmingham Football Club's the place to be.
I can believe it. They probably do a banging curry.
I would. Yeah. Well, do you know, it's my favourite story. Why there's such a large Indian population in Leicester. I know we've probably told it before.
What's that?
But because Leicester Town put together like the councillors and the officials put together a package to when the Indians started to come over,
right.
They put a full page ad out in an Indian paper that said, "Do not come to Leicester, you are not welcome." And when they got here, the only name they knew was Leicester, so they all got on a train and went to Leicester. It was like the most colossal backfiring of racism you've ever seen. And it's absolutely superb.
Love it.
Yeah.
Jake, tell the people where to contact us.
You can contact us.
And it'll be here on the bottom of the
If you
screen.
just put out thoughts and prayers, they usually reach us.
Or the crossing swords, like our version of the bat signal.
Yeah. You just put if you're two males.
Yep.
Or even it's 2024 if you're two people with penises.
Yep.
If you just get them out and put them together 3 times, we will appear.
We'll get a little tingle in the back of our head.
That's our little thing.
We're like, oh.
Someone's crossing swords.
Yeah.
But if you want a more direct approach,
yeah,
and you don't know another person with a penis that is willing, look, we've all been there. You bring it up, they go, "I'm not doing that, bro."
And like,
you say,
often
"Bro."
do stag do's come around?
But you don't really touch. It's more. It's sort of in and around the mouth. I think with that kind of thing.
I've definitely done tip touching at stag do's.
You've done a lot of stag do's.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
I can't unsee those things.
No.
But if you want
complaining though.
Stag do's, what happens?
Yeah.
I was told. I don't want to say like that it went against my will, but I was told if you're at a stag do, that's just how it goes.
Yeah. Just
and
leave
I just
your
went along with it.
inhibitions at the door.
But if you do want a more direct approach, you can get us at Swords Crossing on Twitter. at CrossingSwords_podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find us Crossing Swords on Facebook. You can go on YouTube and search Crossing Swords and then the name of any episode, or even Crossing Swords Podcast. You can also find the link to the YouTube on wherever you're listening to this. You can listen to this on Spotify. You can listen to this on, I think, Amazon. Are we on?
We're on all of them.
But we're Apple. Ones. If you're on Apple, by the way,
we're definitely on Amazon.
If you're on Apple, leave a review.
Yeah.
If you're on Amazon, leave a review, please. It really does help. Go over to YouTube. Just click like. Just click subscribe, and then you can turn off notifications so you never get told when we're releasing a video. That's fine with us.
So we're literally doing
as long as you are
of every other YouTube. Click the like, subscribe, and bell notification. But we're like, no. Don't press the bell button.
No, you do not want to hear from us, guys.
Just subscribe and like every episode.
But just genuinely, that's all we ask. Subscribe, like, maybe leave a comment, little thumbs up.
If you've got an hour spare, why not pop on the YouTube in the background? Costs you nothing apart from your internet costs. But you're doing that
and your self-pride.
Yeah, but like, just put us on in the background. Self-respect. We knew a couple that quite happily listened to the pod working from home together, didn't they?
At least that's what they told us they were doing.
Well, look, do you know what? If a couple of our friends that were in a relationship said that we were the mood music to their love making, I think I'd be all right with it.
In on your voice, out on mine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's the deepest, so it's all like, oh.
And then, when we're having a... That's exactly how I sound.
Yeah, I can believe it.
But when we're talking over each other...
You sound like a turtle having sex, don't you? That...
Yeah, but only when I have sex.
You're like a turtle shagging a croc.
Yeah, also, look, do I have the body shape of a turtle? Yes. Can I do anything about that?
Don't.
No.
You've got the hard outer shell of a turtle, though.
Yeah, but doctor said that that's absolutely fine. There's nothing to worry about.
It's just we all just want to get to your gooey centre.
And I offer that on the regular.
But your other gooey centre.
What we were even talking about? You can email us, crossingswords19@gmail.com.
We were saying goodbye to the people.
And do it now.
Yeah, press it for glory.
Bye.